My mother-in-law said, family doesn't keep secrets. So I told everyone what she said about them. This was at Thanksgiving. 23 people crammed into her dining room, the good china out, her famous pecan pie cooling on the counter. Diane had been needling me all week about hosting more, being more present, making my husband happier. A wife should be transparent, she'd announced that morning while criticizing how I folded napkins. Fine, transparency it is. I stood up mid-meal, wine glass in hand. Since Diane believes family shouldn't keep secrets, I have some things to share. My husband's face went white. He knew what was coming. His mother smiled, thinking I was about to give some heartfelt speech about gratitude. Diane told me last month that your wife, Patricia, I gestured to my brother-in-law, only married you for the insurance money after your cancer scare. She said Patricia was already looking at divorce as attorneys. Patricia dropped her fork. I turned to my husband's sister, Renee. Diane said your adopted son will never be real family because he doesn't have her blood. She called him your little charity case. Renee's eyes filled with tears, her 10-year-old son sitting right there. She told me your dad, Diane's husband, has a daughter from an affair. She's 14 now, living in Portland. Diane's been paying her mother $2,000 a month in hush money for 6 years. My father-in-law stood up so fast his chair fell backward. The table erupted, shouting, crying, accusations flying. Diane's face had gone from red to purple to an unsettling gray. How dare you, she screamed. I trusted you with those things in confidence. You told me family doesn't keep secrets, I said calmly, so now there aren't any. My husband grabbed my arm. We need to leave, now. But I wasn't finished, because here's what nobody knew yet. 3 weeks earlier, I'd been cleaning out the guest room when I found Diane's journal. The real secrets weren't the ones she'd told me. They were the ones she'd written down, about why she really wanted us to have a baby so badly, about the medical condition running through her bloodline that she'd never disclosed, about what would happen to her grandchildren if they inherited it. I pulled the journal from my purse and set it on the table. This is what your mother doesn't want you to know. The room went silent. Diane lunged for it, but Patricia was faster, grabbing it first. She started reading aloud, her voice shaking. With each page, the horror grew. The genetic disorder, the miscarriages Diane had hidden, the reason my husband's younger brother had died at 3, a death she'd blamed on SIDS but had really known the cause. My husband was staring at his mother like he'd never seen her before. You knew? You knew what killed him and you never told Dad? You never warned us before we— His hand moved to my stomach. I was 8 weeks pregnant. We'd announced it just yesterday. Diane's lawyer husband was already on his phone. Don't say another word, he told her. But the damage was done. The family was fracturing in real time. Patricia was crying about her daughter showing symptoms Diane had dismissed. Renee was screaming about doctor appointments that suddenly made sense. Then Diane looked directly at me, her expression shifting to something cold and calculated. You have no idea what you've just done. Neither do you, I said, because I hadn't told them the final secret yet. The one I'd discovered just that morning when I'd received a mysterious envelope at my home. Inside was a legal document, dated from 30 years ago. A document that changed everything about who this family really was, about who Diane really was. My husband saw my expression shift. What? He whispered. What else? I looked at Diane. She'd gone very, very still. She knew I knew. Tell them, I said softly, or I will. Diane's hand was shaking as she reached for her wine glass. The room held its breath. Patricia was still holding the journal. My father-in-law was staring at his wife like she was a stranger, and I was holding the envelope that contained proof of a secret so devastating it would destroy not just this family, but 3 others connected to them. Diane opened her mouth to speak just as the front door burst open. A woman I'd never seen before stood in the doorway. She was maybe 55, with graying hair pulled back in a tight bun, and eyes that immediately locked onto Diane. Hello, Mother. The wine glass slipped from Diane's fingers, shattering on the hardwood floor. Red liquid spread like blood across the pristine white rug she'd spent $3,000 importing from Turkey. Who are you? My father-in-law demanded. The woman's smile was bitter. I'm Christine, Diane's first daughter, the one she gave up for adoption 40 years ago and has pretended doesn't exist ever since. My husband's head snapped toward his mother. What is she talking about? But I already knew. The document in my envelope was Christine's original birth certificate. Diane hadn't been 22 when she married my father-in-law like she'd always claimed. She'd been 17, and she'd already had a baby. Christine walked further into the room, her boots tracking mud onto that expensive rug. I've been looking for you for 23 years, Diane, ever since the adoption agency finally released my files. But you made it very hard to find you. Changed your name twice. Moved states. Married into money and pretended your whole past never existed. Get out of my house, Diane hissed. Oh, I don't think so. Christine pulled out her own folder, much thicker than my envelope. See? I've been doing research, lots of research, about the family I came from, about the father whose name you left blank on my birth certificate, about why you were so desperate to hide me. My father-in-law's face had gone pale. Diane, is this true? Do you have another daughter? Had, Diane said coldly. I gave her away. She's not my daughter anymore. Christine flinched but recovered quickly. You're right. I'm not your daughter. Because daughters don't usually share the same father as their mothers. The room went so quiet I could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway. What? Renee whispered. Christine's eyes never left Diane. Your mother was born in a tiny town in Montana, population 847. Her father, your grandfather, owned the only grocery store. And when Diane was 16, he decided she was old enough to give him what he wanted. She got pregnant. And rather than face the scandal, her mother shipped her off to a Catholic home for unwed mothers 3 states away. I thought I might throw up. My husband's hand found mine, gripping so tightly it hurt. The family story was that Diane was studying abroad, Christine continued. She came back 10 months later, thinner, quieter, and with a new determination to get as far from Montana as possible. She legally changed her name at 18, moved to California, invented a new background, and met your father at a charity gala 2 years later. By then, she'd perfected the persona of the sophisticated young woman from a good family. My father-in-law was shaking his head. No, this is— Diane, tell me this isn't true. But Diane's face had crumpled. The mask she'd worn for 36 years was finally falling away. I was 16, she whispered. I was a child. He was supposed to protect me. So you gave me away, Christine said. I get that. I even forgive that. What I don't forgive is what you did after. What are you talking about? Patricia asked. Christine opened her folder. After Diane married your father, she went back to Montana. Just once. When she was 24. Her father had just died of a heart attack. At the funeral, she found out he'd had another daughter. From his second marriage, after Diane's mother finally left him. A little girl, 4 years old at the time. Oh God, Renee breathed. Diane knew what her father was. Knew what he'd do when that little girl got old enough. So she did something about it. Christine pulled out a newspaper clipping, yellowed with age. 3 weeks after the funeral, there was a fire at the family home. The new wife and the little girl barely escaped. The house was destroyed, including all family records and photos. The grocery store mysteriously went bankrupt within the month. The wife took the settlement Diane offered through her lawyer and moved across the country. The little girl was safe. I stared at Diane. She'd saved her half-sister, protected her from the same fate. But that's not the worst part, Christine said. The worst part is what's in your blood. My hand moved instinctively to my stomach. The genetic disorder you found in that journal? Christine looked at me. It's not random. It's what happens when you're the product of incest. When your family tree doesn't branch properly. I've got it. My daughter's got it. And now your grandchildren might have it too. The room erupted again. Patricia was sobbing. Renee had her son pulled tight against her. My husband was staring at his mother with something beyond horror on his face. I came here to tell you all the truth, Christine said. Not for revenge, but because you deserve to know what's running through your veins. What you might pass on to your children. What Diane should have told you years ago. My father-in-law spoke for the first time since Christine's revelation. His voice was hoarse. How long have you known about this? The disorder? Diane's voice was barely audible. Since before I married you. But I hoped it had skipped me. That my children would be fine. When Timothy died, she couldn't finish. You knew, my father-in-law repeated. You knew our son died because of your genetic condition, and you never told me. We could have had him tested, treated. There is no treatment, Christine interrupted. That's what makes it so brutal. The children who inherit it usually die before age 5. The lucky ones live to their 20s. I'm 54. I'm one of the exceptions. My daughter wasn't. What? Patricia gasped. Christine's face showed pain for the first time. She died last year, 26 years old. That's when I decided to find you all. Because you need to know. You need to test your children. Watch for the symptoms. Give them whatever time they have left. My husband turned to me and I saw my own terror reflected in his eyes. The baby, he whispered, can be tested, Christine said, her voice gentler now. At 12 weeks. I can give you the name of the specialist. It's what I came here to do. Not destroy your family, though it looks like someone already started that, but save your children. I pulled the envelope fully from my purse. There's more, I said. The document I received this morning. It's not just Christine's birth certificate. Everyone turned to look at me. It's a report from a private investigator, one my father-in-law hired 32 years ago, right after he married Diane. My father-in-law's eyes widened. How did you... I destroyed those files. You destroyed copies, I said. The investigator kept the originals. His daughter found them when he died last month. She's the one who sent them to me after seeing our pregnancy announcement on social media. She thought we deserved to know what her father found out. I spread the papers on the table, amid the broken glass and ruined dinner. My father-in-law suspected Diane was lying about her past, so he hired someone to find out the truth. The investigator discovered everything. The incest, Christine's existence, the genetic disorder, the fire in Montana, all of it. Diane's face had gone gray. You knew? My father-in-law couldn't meet her eyes. I knew enough. I knew you'd been through something terrible. I knew you were protecting a secret. But I thought, I loved you. I thought love would be enough, that we could move forward without looking back. You knew, Diane repeated, her voice rising. You knew about the genetics and you let us have children anyway? I didn't know about the disorder until after Timothy was born, he said desperately. By then, I'd already lost one son. I couldn't lose my marriage too. So you let more children be born, Patricia said slowly. Renee, your other sons. You gambled with our lives because you didn't want to face the truth. The accusations were flying now, everyone talking over each other. But I was watching Christine, who'd moved to stand beside me. Why send them to her? She asked, gesturing to me. Why not confront them yourself? I met her eyes. Because you thought I'd be the only one brave enough to blow this whole thing open. You've been watching us for weeks, haven't you? Figuring out the family dynamics. You knew Diane had been pushing me, testing me, trying to break me so I'd fall in line like everyone else. You bet I'd push back. Christine smiled. I've been in town for 2 months, staying at the motel on Route 12, watching you all, trying to figure out how to tell you without destroying everything. But then I saw how Diane treated you at the grocery store last week, how she talked to you in the parking lot, and I thought, this woman won't stay quiet. This woman will make sure the truth comes out. You used me, I said. I gave you the tools, Christine corrected. You chose what to do with them, and honestly, I don't think I could have done it better myself. A sound from the doorway made us all turn. A teenage girl stood there, dark hair falling around her face. She looked terrified and defiant in equal measure. I'm sorry, she said, her voice shaking. I know I wasn't supposed to come, but I couldn't stay away anymore. My father-in-law's face went white. Again. Victoria? The girl nodded. The secret daughter from Portland, the affair child. She looked around the room, taking in the chaos, the broken glass, the shattered family. My mom said you were paying us to stay away, but I'm 14 now. I wanted to meet my real family. I wanted to know if you'd ever tell them about me. This isn't real, Renee said faintly. This can't be real. But it was real. All of it. The lies, the secrets, the blood money, the genetic time bomb. Everything was spilling out like wine from Diane's shattered glass, staining everything it touched. Victoria took a tentative step into the room. Are you my half-sister? She asked Renee. Renee just stared. I'll take that as a yes, Victoria said. She had her father's eyes, the same eyes my husband had, the same eyes that were now filling with tears as my husband looked at this girl, This stranger who was his sister. How many more? My husband asked his father. How many more secrets? How many more siblings? Just her, my father-in-law said. I swear. Just Victoria. Just, my husband repeated bitterly. Just one secret child. Just one genetic disorder. Just one dead brother. Just your entire marriage built on lies. Christine cleared her throat. Actually, there might be one more thing you all should know. Oh God, what now? Patricia moaned. Christine pulled out another document. When I was researching the family, I found something interesting about the genetic disorder. It's rare. So rare that there are only about 40 documented families worldwide who carry it. And most of them trace back to the same geographic region in Montana where Diane grew up. So? Renee asked. So I ran the numbers, cross-referenced the families, and I found something interesting. She looked at my father-in-law. Your family name is Whitmore, correct? But it used to be Whitaker, changed by your great-grandfather when he emigrated from Canada. My father-in-law nodded slowly. The Whitakers settled in Montana in 1892, in the same county where Diane's family lived. In fact, they were neighbors for 3 generations. Christine paused. You're not just married to someone with a complicated past, Mr. Whitmore. You're married to your third cousin. The silence that followed was absolute. The genetic disorder isn't just from Diane's side, Christine continued. It's from both sides. It's compounded. That's why it hit so hard. That's why Timothy didn't stand a chance. That's why testing is so critical for everyone here. Because you're all at risk. Even more than you knew. I felt my husband's hand slip from mine. He walked to the nearest chair and sat down heavily, his face in his hands. Patricia was the first to move. She stood up, grabbed her daughter's hand, and headed for the door. We're leaving. Don't call us. Don't come by. We need time to process all of this. Her husband followed, his face stricken. One by one, the other family members began to leave. Some shouted accusations as they left. Some left in tears. Some left in furious silence. Within 10 minutes, only 6 people remained. Diane, my father-in-law, my husband, Christine, Victoria, and me. I should go, Victoria said quietly. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come. Wait, my husband said, his voice rough. He stood up and walked over to her. You didn't do anything wrong. None of this is your fault. He looked at his father. But you need to know. All those years you were paying her mother to keep her hidden, that was your choice. Your shame, not hers. She deserves to know her family if she wants to. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. Do you mean that? I don't know what I mean anymore, my husband admitted, but I know you're not the one who should be apologizing. Christine checked her watch. I need to get back to my hotel, but I'll leave my contact information. All of you should talk to your doctors, get tested. I know this is a lot, but knowledge is better than ignorance, even when it hurts. She placed a business card on the table and left without another word. After a moment, Victoria followed, casting one last look back at the father who'd hidden her existence for 14 years. Then there were 4. Diane spoke first. I never meant for any of this to happen. Which part? I asked. The incest? The hidden pregnancy? The lies? The genetic disorder you passed on to your children? The dead son you never grieved honestly? Which part did you not mean to happen? All of it, she whispered. I was 16 years old. I thought if I could just get far enough away, start over completely, none of it would matter. I thought I could build a new life and leave all the darkness behind. But darkness doesn't stay buried, I said. It grows. It spreads. It infects everything it touches. My father-in-law cleared his throat. I owe you all an explanation. I don't want to hear it, my husband said flatly. Please. My father-in-law's voice cracked. I was 26 when I met your mother. She was so beautiful, so sophisticated. She seemed too good to be true. When the investigator gave me his report, I was devastated. But I'd already fallen in love with her. I convinced myself that her past didn't matter, that we could build something good together despite it. You convinced yourself, I repeated. While Timothy was dying, did you convince yourself then? When my husband's genetics came into question for our baby, did you convince yourself we didn't deserve to know? I didn't know about the genetic component until after Timothy died, he insisted. By then, telling the truth would have meant admitting I'd known about Diane's past all along. It would have destroyed everything. So you let it destroy us instead, my husband said. Slowly, one lie at a time. Diane stood up abruptly. I need air. She walked to the French doors leading to the back patio and stepped outside, leaving the 3 of us in the wreckage of her dining room. My husband turned to me. Did you know all of this would come out tonight? I knew some of it, I admitted. When I got the envelope this morning, I spent all day researching. I found Christine's online presence, reached out, convinced her to come tonight. I knew Diane's journal would start the avalanche. Christine's arrival would keep it going. You orchestrated this whole thing, my father-in-law said, something like awe in his voice. Diane pushed me to be transparent, I said. So I was. About everything. My husband was looking at me like he didn't quite recognize me. You've been planning this for how long? Since I found the journal 3 weeks ago. Since I realized that Diane's push for us to have a baby immediately, her insistence that we not do genetic testing, her dismissal of every concern I raised, it all meant something darker than just an overbearing mother-in-law. She knew, she's always known, and she was willing to gamble with our baby's life rather than face her past. Our baby, my husband repeated. He sat back down looking lost. What are we going to do? We're going to get tested, I said firmly, at 12 weeks. And if the baby has the disorder, we're going to make an informed decision together, not based on your mother's guilt or shame, but on what's right for us. And if I carry it, he asked, if I have the gene, then we deal with it, I said, together, honestly. No more secrets. My father-in-law cleared his throat. I should check on Diane, but he didn't move. He just sat there, looking at the ruins of his family's Thanksgiving dinner. Outside, I could see Diane standing on the patio, her silhouette sharp against the darkening sky. Her shoulders were shaking. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked small, vulnerable, human. I didn't know it would feel like this, I said quietly. Destroying everything. You didn't destroy it, my husband said. He reached for my hand again, tentative this time. It was already destroyed. You just made it visible. We sat in silence for a while. The grandfather clock ticked. Somewhere in the house, the furnace kicked on. Normal sounds in a world that had just become deeply abnormal. Finally, my husband stood. We should go home. I can't be here anymore. I nodded and gathered my purse. My father-in-law watched us prepare to leave, his face a mask of grief. Will you come back? He asked. For Christmas? For Victoria? She'll need family now. I don't know, my husband said honestly. I need time to figure out who my family even is anymore. We drove home in silence. It was only when we were pulling into our driveway that my husband finally spoke again. That thing you said? About making informed decisions together. Did you mean it? Every word. Even if the baby has it? Even if I carry it? I turned to face him. I married you because I love you. Not your genetics. Not your family. You. Whatever comes next, we face it together. No secrets. No lies. Just us. He kissed me then, desperately, like I was the only solid thing in a world that had turned to quicksand. When we finally pulled apart, his face was wet with tears. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry you married into this nightmare. I'm not, I said, and I meant it. Because for the first time since I joined this family, everything was finally honest. Painful? Yes. Devastating. Absolutely. But honest. We went inside. I made tea. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. After a while, his phone started buzzing. Text after text from various family members. Renee saying she needed space. Patricia demanding answers he didn't have. His other brother, the one who'd left the dinner early claiming work obligations, asking what the hell had just happened. You don't have to answer them, I said. I know, but he picked up the phone anyway, scrolling through the messages. Half of them are angry, the other half are terrified. Nobody knows what to do next. None of us do, I said. This isn't something you can solve in one night. He set the phone down. Can I ask you something? Anything. That moment when you stood up with the wine glass, when you decided to tell everyone Diane's secrets? Did you know it would go this far? Did you know Christine would show up and Victoria and all of it? I thought about lying, making it seem less calculated than it was, but we'd just committed to honesty. I knew Christine was planning to come. We'd been messaging all day. I didn't know about Victoria, that was pure chance. But yes, I knew it would be bad. I knew it would probably destroy your family's relationships. And I did it anyway. Why? Because your mother was going to let our baby die, I said simply. If we'd had a child with the disorder, if we'd never known to test for it, she would have let it happen. Just like she let it happen to Timothy. Just like she's been letting it happen to everyone in this family for decades. I couldn't let that continue. He was quiet for a long moment. I should be angry with you. Are you? No. He looked up at me, his eyes clear for the first time in hours. I'm grateful. Terrified and devastated, but grateful. You saved our baby's life. You saved me from becoming like them, keeping secrets, protecting pride over people, letting the lies pile up until they suffocate everything good. The tea kettle whistled. I poured 2 cups, added honey to his the way he liked, and brought them to the table. We sat there in our small, honest kitchen, in our small, honest life, and tried to imagine a future that didn't include the family that had defined him for 32 years. Do you think they'll forgive us? He asked. Some of them might. Eventually. Others won't. But forgiveness isn't the point anymore. Truth is. He wrapped his hands around the warm mug. My mother is going to hate you forever. Probably. My father might never speak to us again. Maybe. We might lose everyone. We might. I reached across the table and took his hand. But we'll still have each other. And we'll have a baby who deserves to be born into honesty. Whatever else that brings. He nodded slowly. Together. No secrets. No secrets. We finished our tea. Eventually we went to bed, though neither of us slept much. I lay awake, feeling the slight flutter in my stomach that might have been the baby, or might have been my own anxiety, and wondered what genetic roulette we'd just signed up for. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Christine. Thank you for tonight. I know it cost you, but you gave me something I never thought I'd have. The truth about where I came from. That matters more than you know. I typed back. Will you stay in touch? Our baby might need someone who understands what we're facing. Her response was immediate. Always. Family doesn't end with blood. Sometimes it begins with honesty. I showed the text to my husband, who was also awake, staring at the ceiling. He read it twice, then handed back my phone. She's right, you know, Christine. About family. I know. I have a sister I never knew about, he said. And a cousin who's actually a half-aunt. And a dead brother whose death was preventable. And parents who lied about all of it. What kind of family is that? The one you had, I said. Not the one you'll build. He turned to look at me. What if I'm like them? What if the lying is genetic too? Is it? I don't know. I've been keeping small things from you. Nothing major, but, like, I hate your mother's pot roast, but I always tell her it's delicious. And I secretly resent how much time you spend with your college friends. And sometimes I look at our apartment and wonder if this is all there is. If we're ever going to afford something bigger, something that feels less like we're still playing at being adults. Those aren't lies, I said gently. Those are normal marriage thoughts. Everyone has them. The difference is whether you hide them until they become poisonous, or whether you talk about them before they fester. So I should tell your mother her pot roast is terrible? I laughed, surprising both of us. Maybe not that. But the other stuff? Yes. Tell me. I want to know when you're feeling trapped or resentful or uncertain. I want the messy truth, not the polite fiction. Your pot roast is terrible too, he said. Really, truly awful. I've been choking it down for 3 years. I know, I said. Your face gives you away every time. Then why do you keep making it? Because you kept saying you loved it. I thought maybe I was getting better. I smiled. See? Small lies that seem kind, but actually just keep us from the truth. No more pot roast, I promise. Thank God. We lay there in the dark, having the most honest conversation of our marriage in the aftermath of destroying his family's lies. It felt appropriate somehow. Like we were learning how to be married all over again, this time with clearer eyes. I'm scared, he admitted. About the baby, about what we might find out. Me too. What if we lose it? What if the testing shows the disorder and we decide we can't go through with it? Then we'll grieve. Together. And we'll decide what comes next. Together. And if we keep it and it dies young like Timothy, then we'll love it with everything we have for whatever time we get. But at least we'll know. At least we'll be prepared. At least we won't lie to ourselves or our child about what's happening. He was quiet for so long I thought he'd fallen asleep. Then he said, I think I need to talk to someone. A therapist. To work through all of this. That's a good idea. Will you come with me for some of the sessions? Of course. And will you get therapy too? Because I know you're strong, but nobody could handle what you did tonight without it taking a toll. I hadn't thought about that. About the cost to myself of being the one to detonate the bomb. Yeah, I probably should. We'll figure it out, he said. Together. This time, we both fell asleep. I woke to my phone ringing. It was barely 7 a.m. I grabbed it, seeing Diane's name on the screen. For a second, I considered not answering, but curiosity won. Hello, I need to speak with you. Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying all night. In person, just you, not my son. I don't think that's a good idea. Please. The desperation in that single word made me pause. Diane never said please, never showed weakness. I need to explain. I need you to understand. Understand what? That you're willing to sacrifice your grandchildren to protect your secrets? It's not that simple. It never is, I said. But some things are simple, like being honest with your children about their medical history, like not lying to your husband for 36 years, like not making your daughter-in-law the villain for telling the truth you should have told decades ago. I know. Her voice broke. I know I've done terrible things, but I need you to understand why. Please, give me 1 hour. That's all I'm asking. I looked at my husband, still asleep beside me. He looked peaceful for the first time in weeks. I didn't want to wake him, didn't want to tell him his mother was already trying to manipulate the situation, but I also wanted to hear what she had to say. Not because I thought it would justify anything, but because I needed to know how deep the damage went, how much recovery would be required, whether recovery was even possible. 1 hour, I said. The coffee shop on Miller Street. 9 a.m. Thank you. I hung up and immediately regretted agreeing, but it was done. I got up quietly, showered, dressed, and left a note for my husband. Diane asked to meet. I said yes. Back by 10. I love you. The coffee shop was nearly empty when I arrived. Diane was already there, sitting in the back corner, wrapped in an expensive coat that probably cost more than my monthly salary. But her face told a different story. No makeup, hair unstyled, eyes swollen from crying. She looked like she'd aged 10 years overnight. I ordered coffee and sat down across from her without preamble. You have 1 hour. Talk. She wrapped her hands around her own cup, not drinking. I was raped by my father from the time I was 13 until I got pregnant at 16. The baby, Christine, was the result of 3 years of systematic abuse. When my mother found out I was pregnant, she didn't protect me. She shipped me away to protect him, to protect the family's reputation. I said nothing, just waited. At the home for unwed mothers, they told me I was sinful, that I'd tempted my own father, that giving up the baby was my penance. I believed them. I believed it was my fault for 16 months. Then I ran away. I was 17, penniless, and had nothing but a new name and a determination to never let anyone hurt me again. I'm sorry that happened to you, I said carefully. But trauma doesn't excuse what you've done to your own family. I know. She looked up at me, her eyes desperate. But I need you to understand. I thought if I could just be perfect enough, good enough, successful enough, nobody would ever see the dirty, broken girl from Montana. I thought if I had a beautiful family and a perfect life, I could erase everything that came before. The disorder, when I found out about it, I convinced myself it had skipped me, that my children would be fine, that I deserved a normal life after everything I'd been through. And when Timothy died, she flinched. I knew. Of course I knew. But admitting it would mean admitting everything else. The incest, the rape, Christine, all of it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't face it. So I buried it deeper. Told myself it was just bad luck, that it wouldn't happen again. But you kept pushing my husband and me to have children immediately, I said. Even after you knew about the disorder. Even after you knew what could happen. Why? Because I'm a coward, she said simply. Because I wanted to believe that if you had healthy children, it would prove the disorder wasn't that serious. That Timothy's death was a fluke. That I hadn't damned my entire family line. You used us, I said flatly. You were going to use our baby to make yourself feel better about killing your son. Yes. The word was barely a whisper. I'm a monster. I know that now. But I need you to know. I never wanted any of this to happen. I just wanted to be normal, to be safe, to have a family that loved me without knowing where I came from. You had that, I said. Your husband loved you. Your children loved you. But you couldn't let yourself be loved honestly. You needed to be loved as a lie. I didn't know how to be anything else. We sat in silence. Around us, other customers came and went. Normal people having normal mornings, their biggest concern whether to get a latte or an Americano. I envied them. What do you want from me? I finally asked. Forgiveness? I can't give you that. It's not mine to give. I want you to tell my son that I'm sorry, that I never meant to hurt him, that if I could go back and do everything differently, I would. Tell him yourself. He won't answer my calls. Then give him time. You don't get to control the timeline of his healing. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. And the baby? Will you still get tested? Of course. And if it has the disorder? That's not your concern anymore. She flinched again. I suppose I deserve that. You deserve a lot more than that, I said. But I'm not interested in making you suffer. I'm interested in protecting my family, even if that means protecting them from you. I understand. She pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. This is everything. All my medical records. Christine's information. The name of the specialist who diagnosed her. Everything you need for your doctors. I should have given this to you the day you announced you were pregnant. I'm giving it to you now. I took the envelope without opening it. Is there anything else in here? Any other secrets waiting to explode? No. I promise. That's everything. Your promises don't mean much anymore. I know. I stood up. I won't tell my husband not to speak to you. That's his choice. But I will tell him to be careful. To remember that you chose your comfort over your children's lives. That doesn't go away because you've had one honest conversation. I know. She looked up at me, mascara running down her face. For what it's worth, I'm glad he married you. You're stronger than I ever was. You won't let him make my mistakes. No, I agreed. I won't. I left her there and drove home. My husband was awake, reading my note, panic clear on his face. When I walked in, he exhaled in relief. You went to see her? She asked. I said yes. Why? Because I needed to look her in the eye and make sure there were no more secrets. No more bombs waiting to go off. I handed him the envelope. She gave me this. Medical records. Everything we need for the testing. He took it, but didn't open it. What did she say? I told him everything. The rape, the years of abuse, the Catholic home, the desperate need to be someone other than the broken girl from Montana. When I finished, he was crying. I wish she'd told us, he said. We could have helped her, supported her. She didn't have to carry all of that alone. She chose to carry it alone, I said gently. That was her decision, and it hurt everyone around her. You can feel sympathy for what she went through while still holding her accountable for what she did. Can I? He wiped his eyes. It feels impossible. She's my mother. She was a victim, but she also victimized us. How do I reconcile that? I don't know. Therapy probably. Time. But you don't have to figure it out today. He nodded. Then he opened the envelope and started reading. I watched his face change as he absorbed the information. The technical language of genetic disorders. The statistics. The prognosis for children born with a mutation. It was brutal in its clarity. Christine's daughter died at 26, he said. There are pictures here. She looked healthy in them, happy. And then she wasn't. No, then she wasn't. He kept reading. The disorder is progressive. Vision problems first, then mobility issues, then organ failure. Most people who have it die before 30. The ones who make it longer do so in constant pain. That's what we might be passing on to our baby. Yes. We sat with that for a while. The magnitude of it. The impossibility of it. Do you want to keep it? He asked finally. If the tests come back positive? I don't know, I admitted. I love this baby already. But I don't know if I can bring a child into the world knowing they'll suffer. Knowing they'll die young. Me neither. But I also don't know if I can terminate a pregnancy because of something that might not even manifest. The mutations aren't a guarantee. They're a probability. A high probability. But not certain. He set down the papers. We have 3 weeks until the testing window. 3 weeks to figure out what we believe. What we're willing to risk. Do you want to talk to Christine? She might have insights we don't. Maybe. Probably. He rubbed his face. This is impossible. How do people make these decisions? I don't think they do, I said. I think they just make a choice and then live with it and hope they made the right one. That's terrifying. Yes. My phone buzzed. A text from Renee. Can we talk? Just you and me? I showed it to my husband. He nodded. She's probably freaking out about her son, whether he has it. He might. He probably does. If we do the math on the genetics. He stopped. I can't think about that right now. Talk to Renee. See what she needs. I texted back. When and where? Her response. Now? Park near your place? 15 minutes later, I was sitting on a bench watching Renee's son play on the swings while Renee chain-smoked beside me. I'd never seen her smoke before. She looked like she hadn't slept. Like she might never sleep again. I took him to the emergency room at 4 a.m., she said without preamble. Demanded they test him. They told me they can't run genetic panels without a referral and a reason, so I told them the reason. My son sat there listening while I explained that his grandmother hid a genetic disorder that might kill him. Do you know what he said? I shook my head. He asked if he was going to die. And I didn't know how to answer. Because I don't know. Nobody knows. We have to wait for appointments and referrals and tests. Meanwhile, I'm watching him play, and wondering if this is the last time I'll see him healthy. Renee, don't. She held up a hand. Don't comfort me. Don't tell me it'll be okay. Because you don't know that. Nobody knows that. My son might be dying and my mother knew and never told us. I'm sorry. Are you? Because you're the one who told everyone. You're the one who blew up our lives. Would you rather not know? Would you rather wait until your son started showing symptoms before finding out there was something you could have been monitoring? She took a long drag on her cigarette. No. God help me. No. I needed to know. But that doesn't make it easier. Nothing about this is easy. My husband left this morning, she said. Took a bag and said he needed space. He can't handle it. Can't handle the idea that our son might die. That we chose adoption to avoid genetic problems and ended up connected to them anyway. Your son is still your son. Genetics don't change that. Tell that to my husband. Tell that to my mother, who called my beautiful boy a charity case. We watched the boy swing higher and higher, completely oblivious to the storm surrounding him. He was laughing. Just a normal kid having a normal morning at the park. I need you to tell me something honestly, Renee said. Do you regret it? Telling everyone? I thought about that. About the chaos and the broken relationships and the pain I'd caused. About Diane crying in the coffee shop and my husband's tortured face and Renee's terror. About Victoria showing up at a house that didn't want her and Christine finally getting the truth she'd been seeking for decades. No, I said. I don't regret it, because the truth is always better than lies, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. She nodded slowly. I think I hate you for it anyway. That's fair. But I also think I'm grateful. And I don't know how to hold both those feelings at the same time. You don't have to figure it out today. She laughed bitterly. Everyone keeps saying that. Like time makes this easier. But it doesn't. Every day my son wakes up healthy is one day closer to the day he might not. Or one day further from a disease he might not have. Optimism doesn't suit you. It doesn't suit anyone right now. Her son ran over, breathless and happy. Mom, can we get ice cream? Renee looked at him and I watched her face crumble and then rebuild itself in seconds. Sure, baby. Whatever you want. He cheered and ran back to the swings for one more turn. Renee stubbed out her cigarette and stood up. Thank you for meeting me. Anytime. I mean it. Even though I hate you a little, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad someone in this family has the guts to tell the truth. She paused. Your baby? We're getting tested. And if, we'll figure it out when we get there. She nodded. I hope it's okay. I really do. This family doesn't deserve more tragedy. Even if we kind of brought it on ourselves. She walked toward her son and I headed back home. My husband was waiting. The medical papers spread across our kitchen table like the map of a disaster zone. Renee okay? He asked. No, but she will be. Maybe. Eventually. Her husband left. She told me. This is what we do, he said quietly. As a family, when things get hard, we scatter. We hide. We pretend. Even the next generation is already doing it. Then we'll break the cycle. Right here. Right now. We stay. We face it. We don't hide. Even if it destroys us. We're already destroyed, I pointed out. This is just the rebuilding part. He pulled me close. I could feel his heart racing, smell the coffee on his breath, feel the fear radiating off him, but he didn't let go. He held on. Together, he whispered into my hair. Together, I agreed. The next 3 weeks were a blur. We scheduled the genetic testing, made appointments with specialists, reached out to Christine, who provided more information, and agreed to talk with us about her experiences. We started therapy, both individually and as a couple. We ignored calls from most of the family and took a few from others. Patricia reached out to say she'd gotten her daughter tested. Results pending. She wasn't speaking to my father-in-law, but wanted to maintain contact with us. Victoria sent a tentative text asking if we'd like to meet for lunch sometime. My husband said yes. Diane called every day. We never answered. She left voicemails that started apologetic and gradually became desperate, then angry, then resigned. My father-in-law texted once, "I'm getting a divorce. It's time." 3 weeks felt like 3 years. Every morning I woke up aware of the cells dividing inside me, creating a person who might be doomed before they even took their first breath. Every night I lay awake wondering what we'd do if the worst happened. If we'd have the strength to make the right choice, whatever that was. The day of the testing arrived. We drove to the specialist's office in silence. The waiting room was full of other couples with that same tense, terrified look. We were all waiting to find out if our futures were blessed or cursed. When they called our name, I reached for my husband's hand. He held on like I was the only thing keeping him anchored to earth. Maybe I was. The genetic counselor was kind but professional. She explained the testing process, the timeline for results, the accuracy rates. Everything was very clinical, very removed from the human terror of what we were actually facing. "Do you want to know today?" she asked. "Or would you prefer to wait for the full panel results?" "Today," we both said at once. She nodded. "Then let's begin." The actual testing took 20 minutes. The waiting for preliminary results took 2 hours. We sat in the same waiting room watching other couples come and go. Some left in tears, some left smiling, most left looking shell-shocked, like us, unable to process whatever they'd been told. Finally, the counselor called us back. Her face was carefully neutral, telling us nothing. We sat down. She opened a folder. "I have your preliminary results," she said. "The full genetic panel will take another week, but we were able to identify the specific markers you were concerned about." And my husband's voice was hoarse. She looked at both of us. "Your son does not carry the genetic mutation." The room spun. My husband made a sound somewhere between a sob and a laugh. I couldn't breathe. "Our son?" I managed to say. She smiled. "Yes, it's a boy. And based on these preliminary results, he has no markers for the disorder your family carries. You're having a healthy baby." My husband burst into tears, full, gasping sobs that shook his whole body. I held him while he cried, my own tears falling into his hair. The counselor discreetly left the room, giving us privacy. "He's okay," my husband kept saying. "Our son is okay." "He's okay," I repeated, feeling the words settle into my bones. "We're okay." We stayed like that for a long time. Eventually, we pulled ourselves together enough to hear the rest of the information. The counselor confirmed that neither my husband nor I carried the genetic mutation. The family disorder had somehow, miraculously, skipped him entirely. "This is unusual but not unheard of," she explained. "Genetic inheritance isn't always predictable. Sometimes the mutations don't express. Sometimes they skip generations. You were very fortunate." Fortunate felt like too small a word for what we'd just been given. A second chance. A life free from the shadow of our family's genetic curse. A son who would grow up healthy. We drove home in a daze. Halfway there, I started laughing, then crying, then both at once. My husband pulled over and we held each other in the car, parked on the side of the highway, feeling like we'd just survived an apocalypse. "We have to tell everyone," he said finally. "Later. Right now, I just want it to be ours. Just for a little while." He nodded. "How long?" "Until tonight. Then we'll start making calls. Diane will be relieved." "Diane doesn't get to be relieved," I said sharply. "Her relief doesn't erase what she did, what she was willing to let happen." "I know, but she's still my mother. And our son will never be left alone with her," I said. "That's non-negotiable. She lost the right to unsupervised time with our children when she chose secrets over safety." Agreed. We got home and crawled into bed fully clothed. Neither of us had slept properly in weeks. Now, with the weight of uncertainty lifted, exhaustion crashed over us like a wave. We slept until dark, wrapped around each other, dreaming of futures that had seemed impossible just hours before. When we woke, it was almost 8 p.m. We ordered pizza and sat on the couch, eating and talking about what came next. We'd need to tell the family, deal with their reactions, set boundaries with Diane, build a relationship with Victoria, support Renee and Patricia through their own testing journeys. "It's not over," my husband said. "The family stuff, the drama, it's going to keep going for a while." "I know, but our son is safe. That's what matters." "That's what matters," I agreed. He picked up his phone. "Who do we call first?" "Christine," I said immediately. "She's the one who made sure we knew to test. She deserves to know her nephew is going to be okay." He nodded and dialed. Christine answered on the first ring. When we told her the news, she cried. "Thank God," she kept saying. "Thank God." After we hung up with her, we called Renee. She answered, sounding exhausted. "Please tell me you have good news. I need some good news." "He's healthy," my husband said. "Our son is healthy. He doesn't have it." She broke down. "I'm so happy for you. So happy. We get our results next week. I'm terrified. Whatever happens, we'll help. I promised. You're not alone in this. Thank you. Thank you for telling everyone the truth. If you hadn't, I wouldn't have known to test. Neither would Patricia. You saved our children, even if you almost destroyed our family to do it." After that, we called Patricia, who sobbed with relief for us, and asked us to pray for her daughter's results. We called Victoria, who we barely knew, but who deserved to be part of this family's new chapter. We even called my father-in-law, who answered on the first ring. "Is it good news or bad?" he asked immediately. "Good. The baby's healthy." I heard him make a sound that might have been a sob. Thank God. I was so afraid. I thought my sins would keep visiting themselves on generation after generation. I thought we'd never escape what Diane and I did. "You might not escape it yet," my husband said. "Renee and Patricia are still waiting on results." "I know. I've been praying more in the last 3 weeks than I have in 30 years. Maybe it's too late for that. Maybe God doesn't listen to people like me, but I'm trying. We'll talk soon, my husband said. About everything, but not tonight. Not tonight, his father agreed. We didn't call Diane. Neither of us could face that conversation yet. Let her wait one more night. Let her wonder. She'd put us through weeks of terror. She could handle a few more hours. Instead, we sat on our couch, my husband's hand on my stomach, and talked about our son, about names and nurseries, and what kind of parents we wanted to be. We talked about honesty and transparency, and never, ever keeping secrets that could hurt the people we loved. I want him to know about all of this, my husband said. When he's old enough, I want him to understand why his grandmother isn't in our lives much, why we're so careful about medical information. I don't want him to grow up with lies. Agreed. Age-appropriate truth, always. Even when it's painful, especially then. We fell asleep on the couch, the TV playing quietly in the background, dreaming of our healthy son and the honest life we'd build for him. The next morning I woke to my phone buzzing. A text from Diane. Please. I need to know about the baby. I can't sleep. I can't eat. Please tell me. I showed it to my husband. He sighed. We should tell her. As much as I want to make her suffer, we should tell her. You tell her I can't. He took my phone and typed. The baby is healthy. He doesn't have the disorder. But this doesn't change anything between us. You still chose to hide the truth. You still risked our son's life. Those things don't go away because we got lucky. Her response came immediately. Can I see you? Both of you? Please. I need to try to make this right. He looked at me. I shook my head. Not yet. I'm not ready. He typed. Not yet. We need time. We'll let you know when we're ready. Thank you. Thank you for telling me about the baby. Congratulations on your son. Does it feel weird? My husband asked. That she's congratulating us after everything? Everything feels weird now, I said. Normal is going to be a long time coming. Over the next week, the rest of the family's results came in. Patricia's daughter was healthy. Renee's son carried the mutation. The devastation was complete. Renee called us sobbing, unable to form coherent words. When she finally calmed down enough to talk, she told us she'd decided to move closer to the specialist in Boston to give her son the best chance at managing the disorder if symptoms appeared. Her husband still hadn't come back. Do you need help with anything? I asked. Money, moving, anything? No. My mother has offered to pay for everything. The medical care, the move, all of it. I think she's trying to buy forgiveness. Is it working? No. But I'm taking her money anyway. My son deserves the best care, even if it comes from someone who should have warned us years ago. Patricia called with similar news. Her daughter was terrified, but healthy. They were going to do genetic counseling before she had children of her own. Make sure this curse stopped with them. Victoria reached out to say she'd been tested too. She didn't have it. She was the only one of my father-in-law's children who'd been spared completely. I feel guilty, she told us over coffee. Like I don't deserve to be okay when everyone else is suffering. That's called survivor's guilt, my husband said gently. It's normal, but you didn't do anything wrong. You deserve to be healthy. So did your brother, she said. The one who died. He deserved to be healthy too. Yes, he did. This family is cursed. This family had secrets, I corrected. And secrets are worse than any genetic curse. At least with genetics, we can test, we can prepare. With secrets, we're just waiting for the next bomb to explode. Are there any more? She asked nervously. Any more secrets? My husband and I looked at each other. As far as we knew, everything was finally out in the open. But with this family, who could be sure? I don't think so, my husband said. But I've learned never to say never. A month after the testing, Diane requested a family meeting. She wanted everyone together. All her children, their spouses, her husband, Christine, Victoria, me. She had something she needed to say to all of us at once. Should we go? My husband asked. Probably, if only to close this chapter properly. We arrived at a restaurant conference room Diane had rented. Everyone was there, looking uncomfortable and wary. Diane sat at the head of the table, looking small and tired. My father-in-law sat at the opposite end, as far from her as possible. They were separated now, divorce papers filed. Diane cleared her throat. Thank you all for coming. I know many of you don't want to be here. I don't blame you, but I needed to say some things to all of you at once. Nobody responded. We just waited. I'm sorry. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry for lying to you, for hiding the truth about my past, about our genetics, about Timothy's death. I'm sorry for prioritizing my own shame and fear over your right to know. I'm sorry for the years I stole from you by not telling you the truth sooner. I'm sorry for every choice I made that hurt you. Renee's voice was cold. Sorry doesn't fix my son. No, Diane agreed. It doesn't. Nothing I say or do will fix what I've done, but I'm trying to make amends anyway. I've set up trust funds for every grandchild's medical care, for genetic counseling, for therapy, for whatever they need. I've sold the house, and I'm downsizing. Half the money is going to genetic research for the disorder. The other half is split between all of you. We don't want your money, Patricia said. I know, but you need it. For medical bills, for moves, for whatever comes next. Take it, please. It's literally the least I can do. What about you? Christine asked. She'd been quiet until now, watching her birth mother with an unreadable expression. Where will you live? I'm moving to Montana, Diane said. Back to where I came from. There's a support group there for survivors of childhood sexual abuse. I'm going to finally deal with what happened to me instead of running from it. And I'm going to make sure my father's other victims get help too. There were more. I've spent the last month tracking them down. Some want therapy, some want legal action. I'm helping them get whatever they need. That's good, I said. It was the first positive thing I'd felt toward Diane in weeks. That's actually good. It doesn't make up for what I did to you all, she said. But it's a start. And I'm not coming back until I've done the work. Real work. Not just apologizing and expecting forgiveness. Actual therapy and healing and facing what I've been running from for 40 years. How long will that take? My husband asked. I don't know. Years, probably. Maybe forever. But I'm not asking you to wait for me. I'm not asking for forgiveness or for your relationships back. I'm just asking that you take the money I'm offering and use it to build better lives than I gave you. Lives built on truth instead of lies. We sat in silence. Around the table, I could see people processing. Some looked angry. Some looked sad. Some looked relieved that she was leaving. Some looked afraid of what came next. I have one more thing, Diane said. She pulled out a box and slid it to the center of the table. This is every secret I've kept. Every lie I've told, every piece of information I should have shared. It's all written down, all documented. If you want to read it, you can. If you want to burn it, do that instead. But I'm not taking it with me. I'm leaving it behind. I'm done with secrets. Nobody reached for the box. We all just stared at it like it might explode. Christine finally stood and picked it up. I'll keep it. For now. If anyone wants to see what's inside, they can ask me. Diane nodded. Thank you. One by one, people started leaving. Some left without saying goodbye. Some hugged Diane briefly. Some couldn't even look at her. My husband and I were the last to go, aside from Christine and Victoria, who decided to get dinner together afterward. At the door, Diane caught my arm. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For being brave enough to tell the truth when I couldn't. For saving my grandchildren, even at the cost of destroying my family. For loving my son enough to risk everything to protect your baby. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw what I hadn't been able to see through the anger and betrayal. A broken woman who'd been trying to outrun her trauma for 4 decades. A victim who'd become a victimizer. A person who'd made terrible choices out of terrible pain. I hope Montana helps you, I said. I really do. But you're right. This doesn't fix anything. You've got a long road ahead. I know. And we're not holding space for you while you heal. We're moving forward, building our own lives. Your healing is your responsibility, not ours. I know that too. I turned to leave, then stopped. Diane, that little girl in Montana, your half-sister, the one you saved from your father. Have you ever contacted her? Diane's eyes widened. How did you? Christine told me. Have you? No. I thought it was better if she never knew about me. If she just lived her life free from all of this. Maybe, I said. Or maybe she deserves to know she has a sister who loved her enough to burn down their childhood home to protect her. Maybe she deserves the truth too. Diane was crying now. I wouldn't know what to say. Start with sorry, then go from there. I left her standing in the doorway and walked out to where my husband was waiting. He took my hand without asking how it went. He knew. We both knew. Nothing was fixed. Nothing was resolved. But at least now everything was honest. At least now the truth was out. Ready to go home? He asked. Ready. We drove back to our small apartment, where a crib was now waiting in the spare room, where paint samples were taped to the walls and baby books lined the shelves, where we were building a life for our son based on transparency and truth and all the lessons we'd learned from his grandmother's lies. That night, lying in bed, feeling our son kick inside me, I thought about family, about blood and secrets and the ties that bind us, about how sometimes love isn't enough without honesty, about how sometimes honesty destroys everything, and that's okay because what's destroyed was built on lies anyway. Do you think we did the right thing? My husband asked in the darkness. Yes. Even though it cost us so much? Especially because it cost us so much. If truth was easy, everyone would tell it. It's the hard truths that matter. Will you tell me the hard truths? Always? Always. I promised. Even when they hurt. Even when they're ugly. I'll tell you. Same. We fell asleep like that. Promising honesty to each other in the dark. Building a marriage that would be the opposite of his parents. Creating a foundation for our son that was solid rock instead of quicksand. 3 months later, our son was born. We named him Christopher. After Christine, who'd traveled across the country to tell us the truth, who'd been brave enough to face her biological mother and demand honesty, who'd shown us that family could be chosen as well as born. Christine came to the hospital to meet him. She held him carefully, tears streaming down her face. He's beautiful, she whispered. He's healthy, I corrected. That's all that matters. That too. Renee came, her own son in tow. He'd started showing mild symptoms, but they were manageable so far. She'd found a good specialist in Boston, a support group, a therapist. She was building a life around her son's condition instead of running from it. Patricia visited with her daughter, who'd decided not to have biological children but was exploring adoption. She'd said she wasn't taking any chances. She'd seen what secrets could do to a family. Victoria stopped by with flowers. She was in college now, studying medicine. She wanted to research the genetic disorder, find better treatments, maybe even a cure someday. Someone should, she said. Someone should do something good with all this tragedy. My father-in-law came last, alone. His divorce was nearly final. He looked older, smaller, like the weight of his lies had physically diminished him. But he looked at Christopher with such joy, such relief, that I couldn't help but soften slightly. He's perfect, he said. He is, my husband agreed. And he's going to grow up knowing exactly where he came from. All of it. The good, the bad, the ugly. No secrets. That's good, my father-in-law said. That's how it should be. Diane didn't come to the hospital. She'd moved to Montana as promised. She sent a card and a gift, a children's book about telling the truth. The inscription read, "For Christopher. May you always be braver than your grandmother. Love, Diane." Should we keep it? My husband asked, holding up the book. Yes, I said. Someday he'll ask about her. This can be part of that story. 6 months after Christopher was born, we got a call from Christine. She'd been contacted by a woman named Elizabeth, Diane's half-sister, the girl Diane had saved from their father all those years ago. She'd seen Christine's name in some online support groups for families dealing with genetic disorders and had done some digging. She wanted to meet her sisters. What do you think? Christine asked. Should I say yes? That's your choice, I said. But I think more truth is always better than less, even when it complicates things. The meeting happened 3 weeks later. Elizabeth turned out to be a therapist specializing in childhood trauma. She'd known something was wrong with her early childhood but had never known what. When she learned about Diane, about the fire, about everything, she'd said only one thing. I want to thank her. We connected them. Diane and Elizabeth talked on the phone for 3 hours. I don't know what they said to each other. But afterward, Diane called my husband for the first time since she'd moved. Thank you, she said, for letting Elizabeth find me, for not keeping that secret too. We don't keep secrets anymore, my husband reminded her. Any of us. I know, and I'm grateful for that. Even though it cost me everything, I'm grateful. How's Montana? Hard. Really hard. But good. I'm learning to face things I've run from my whole life. It's brutal, but necessary. Are you coming back? Not yet. Maybe not for years, but I want you to know. I'm proud of you, of how you handled all of this. of the father you're going to be, of the life you're building with your wife and son. I'm proud of you even though I don't deserve to be. My husband was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Thank you. That means more than you know." They talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. My husband came and found me in the nursery, where I was rocking Christopher to sleep. My mother called. I heard. "How are you feeling?" "I don't know. Sad, relieved, angry, grateful. All of it at once." "That sounds about right." He sat down on the floor beside the rocking chair. "Do you think we'll ever have a normal family?" I laughed softly. "I think this is normal. The messy, complicated, constantly evolving kind of normal. The kind where you have to work at relationships instead of taking them for granted. I like that kind of normal." "Me too." Christopher stirred in my arms, making the little grunting noises that meant he was dreaming. I wondered what babies dreamed about. Warm milk and soft blankets and voices they recognized. Simple, honest things. "I want to tell you something," my husband said. "What?" "I'm scared. All the time. I'm scared I'll be like my parents. That I'll keep secrets or lie to protect myself. That I'll damage Christopher the way they damaged me." "Then tell me when you're scared. Tell me when you're tempted to lie. Tell me everything and we'll figure it out together." What if I can't? What if the lying is in my DNA? Then we'll catch it early and course correct. That's what therapy is for. What honesty is for. What we're for. You and me, watching each other's backs. He reached up and took my hand. "I love you. For breaking my family. For saving our son. For being brave enough to demand the truth even when everyone else wanted comfortable lies. I love you too. For choosing honesty over comfort. For breaking the cycle. For being willing to learn how to be different than your parents. Together? Together." That's how we sat until Christopher woke up. Together in the nursery of our small apartment, building a family from scratch. A family based on truth. A family that would never be perfect, but would always be honest. A family that started with one woman standing up at Thanksgiving dinner and deciding that secrets had to end. It cost us everything. The comfort of ignorance. The easy relationships with extended family. The simple narrative of a happy, normal life. But what we got in return was worth more. Truth, health, a son who would grow up in honesty. A marriage built on solid ground. And the knowledge that when faced with the choice between comfortable lies and painful truth, we'd chosen correctly. Even if it hurt. Especially because it hurt. Because that's what real family does. Real family tells the truth. Real family faces the hard things together. Real family doesn't keep secrets that can destroy the people you love. And that Thanksgiving dinner, as messy and chaotic and devastating as it was, became the moment our real family was born. Not the family we inherited, but the family we chose to become. Honest, flawed, complicated, but real. Finally, real.